What makes Ed so interesting in this game? You know, it's kind of crazy to think about because when you come, like, he's only been in 2 games. He's only been in Street Fighter 5 and Street Fighter 6. Yet those versions of the character cannot be so fundamentally different. Like, it's insane. Okay, when we look at Street Fighter 5, Ed, what do we got? We got a crayon eating baby food character. All he does is 1, 2, 3. No motion inputs. Nothing. He just presses buttons. Like, the pinnacle of his complexity really just was the piano input. And there was something there with the V-Trigger 1. For sure, the little ball. But he has that in Street Fighter 6. So what makes Ed so special in Street Fighter 6? You know, in this game, he's extremely hard to play. Like, even the game says it. He's tricky, he's hard, and he has some of the most complex stuff to ever do in this game. So how do we get here? What really makes him tick? What makes him so special? Well, I wanted to explore that today. Something that adds to Ed's difficulty in this game is the lack of some basic stuff. Okay, when you compare it to even the poster boy of this game, what does Ryu have that Ed does not have? Well, the most glaring one is an overhead. You know, he doesn't have it. Capcom decided not to give him one, and I wish I could do one, but I can't do it. He doesn't have it. The best he got is a jump in, and that hurts. That makes him more difficult to play because in particularly Street Fighter 6, there's drive rush, and some characters can just do drive rush, overhead, and that's it. GG. Oh, it got blocked. Plus unblock. Hold that shit. Ed doesn't have that. And additionally, when we look at his lows, yeah, they're kind of subpar. Okay, like they do the job. Don't get me wrong, but they're okay. Like he got crouching light punch. He got crouching medium punch. Sweet. I mean, they're lows, but they're not gonna do it for you. Like when you're gonna play this character, you're not thinking, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna hit him with the low," and it just doesn't happen. Okay, so what does he need to do to actually win? Like, what's the thing that's gonna make other people press buttons into him? Well, it's a throw, and that's the only thing he's got. You know, be that as it may, he's been consistently one of the best characters in the game, top tier every time. Every patch, he's been getting nerfed, all of them. I think except one where he got like this gigantic buff, where he got this, and from I think -5 into -3. Oh, and this recent patch where he got this shit. Every other change has been nerfed. Ridiculous nerfs, mind you. Let me show you one. Hold on. Look at this shit, man. I set up the recording. I set up the bot. This is one of his most significant nerfs. What are we talking about here? What do you mean that hit? Okay, that's not the point. But I need to show you that like he's been getting nerfed. The nerf hammer has not been nice to him. In spite of all this, you know, having like big nerfs like that, and having no like godlike low, and having no overhead, he's still been one of the top characters in this game. He's always been in the top of the meta, top 1, top 2. Put him where the hell you want, but he's always been up there. And I think Capcom really cooked with him because it goes to show that you don't really need all that. He doesn't even have many plus frames, but you don't really need all that. And Ed really serves as an example of great difficulty in Street Fighter and a celebration of one of the coolest aspects of Street Fighter, and that's spacing. Spacing is one of the hardest things to do in this game. They even made a whole term out of it called footsies. But Ed breaks all that shit. He doesn't kick. He fights with his punches. Yet he's one of the most footsie based oriented characters. His identity is spacing. And I think that's amazing. I think that's godlike. That's awesome. And that's basically all he does. His entire game plan is based around spacing. Just look at the placements of his normals, okay? Normally, what is a crouching medium kick? It's a really long reaching low. He doesn't have that. He has a move that kind of whiffs on people that are crouched down, but reaches hella far. Let's look at his standing medium kick. a normal that like is usually not special cancelable, but reaches hella far. What does he have? Bro, that reaches like almost half screen. And what about this crouching heavy kick? Usually the sweep, you know? It's usually a character's longest range button. The kick, the heavy kick. Well, he has this. So Ed is a character defined by incredibly long range. And he has a game plan based around spacing. And even how his normals are organized, they break the rules of the game. They make it so, yeah, he might lack in some areas. He might not have good pressure, but he really excels in the neutral. He's a neutral god. You can't do shit to him. And I think that's incredibly interesting. It almost feels like when we look at Ed, he sacrifices a lot of his tools in favor for having a better poke. You know, and nothing is a better example than Ed's crouching leg kick. You know, 5 frames is arguably, it's like this is the second fastest thing that there is in Street Fighter. And not only does Ed have a 5-frame crouching leg kick, but it reaches abnormally far for a 5-frame. Arguably the longest reaching 5-frame normal. That allows him to poke and punish in places that other characters simply just wouldn't be able to fight with. Case in point, like Bison. Like, Ed has a pretty good matchup against Bison because if Bison scissor kicks, you damn well better hope he has it spaced out well. Because if he doesn't, he's getting cooked. He's getting punished. So, yeah, while Ed doesn't really reap the benefits of having good punches, you know, they're kind of gimped versions of everybody else's kicks. You know, like crushing medium punches, gimped crushing medium kicks, so on and so forth. He gets the benefit of having an extremely godlike poke game. You know, instead of having light punch into medium punch, he just has an extremely reliable light kick that'll always hit and the range and the longest of the ranges at arguably the fastest speed. You know, so he gets consistency. He might not get damage. He might not get even frames. Like he doesn't have good block pressure. Like look, negative. If everything's negative, everything is fucking negative. But he gets consistency. This will always reach. This will always interrupt. You know what? It was so good that this shit had to get nerfed. He still kind of has it. He can do this. But he was so consistently fighting back that it had to get nerfed. So it really goes to show that like he really is a rule breaker character. He sacrifices damage and pressure for consistency. And I think that's very interesting because when you look at other characters, like they'll have those things. They'll have those combos. They'll have that frame data. But Ed doesn't need it. Instead, he has range, poke, consistency. And I think that is godlike. That is what makes his identity super interesting. And much like how a poke game would be with other characters, it's extremely difficult with Ed. You know? Poking is an extremely difficult thing, just like spacing in. So even though he has these tools that are incredibly consistent, they're incredibly hard to use. And that makes his game plan very dynamic. There's a lot to learn with this guy. Case in point, poking is incredibly difficult, man. It really is, because you might have really long range tools, but it's still up to you to consistently use it well. It's still up to you to place it well where it needs to be, to counter hit where it needs to counter hit, to be placed in a point in time where it will actually disrupt the opponent's game plan. Ed has these tools, but it's still up to you to poke well, and that makes him incredibly fun. And I still haven't even gotten into his special moves. You know, arguably, in my opinion, one of the most interesting special moves ever made, the flicker. You know, especially when you contextualize it in Street Fighter. Let me switch the characters for you, and let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay. I pulled up the Ryu. I wanted to show you guys something about the Fireball game, and okay, what's the point I want to bring here? From my knowledge, yeah, the best Fireball games have like layers on them. First, you start a normal base war, you know, a footsie war. Why? Because that's gonna get the opponent want to actually come to you. Okay, let me give you an example. We're both trying to be neutral and we're like trying to space out our normals and like be godlike and shit. And we're trying to like play in these ranges. Like, okay, I'm gonna walk back and then you're gonna whiff, and then I'm gonna walk inside and then I'm gonna destroy your shit. Like once that type of game plan gets established, then people are gonna start running into your fireballs. Yeah, that's when the fireball game gets broken. Yeah, when you guys are both playing normals and then you basically goad the opponent into be like, okay, press into me. My fireball is not gonna be a projectile anymore. It's basically gonna be an extended normal, and you can't do anything about it. Get cooked. So what does this mean for Ed? Why am I bringing all this? Well, practically speaking, I see the flicker as a love letter to the fireball war. Like something that made Street Fighter what it is, the Hadouken. The flicker is like the way it's built is such a deep. There's such a deep understanding of the fireball war. Like, and I really gotta give props to Capcom. Like, it's so sick to be using this shit, because if we're gonna be using the fireball in that way and have the people run into your fireballs, something that a lot of great players have been known to do, like Daigo, what happens then? Well, the flicker is like emphasizing that aspect of the fireball war. If the fireball war is gonna be layered and we first start using normals, then Ed's flicker is supposed to be like the prime time version of that. A very defensive, fast, and rewarding version of the fireball. So whenever they use that normal and they have that footsie war, like the best aspect of Ed, well, he's gonna be able to play that in the best way possible. So when they start using those normals, he's gonna be playing into the best parts of a fireball war and having those punish counters come to him for big damage. I think there's such a deep understanding of that, bro. I swear to God. And I think that's so sick. And whenever you just think of Ed, I just think like, oh my God, Capcom, they really did a great job. They really did. Because it really goes to show that they care about the game. Like they know like what goes on in their game. And I think that's awesome. Epic, even. Amazing, even. Oh, I think I've rambled for long enough. Right? Ed has some other cool stuff. Like he has some really interesting combos, like with his level 2. Like they brought one of the cooler stuff from Street Fighter 5, like the V-Trigger 1. Like they brought that shit back with his level 2, and he got some cool combos. Everybody knows the dream. Let's see if I can hit it for the one time. Hell yeah. Amazing. Spectacular. Okay. But everybody knows about that combo. Sick. It's an amazing combo. Really fun to do. And you know, I don't have much else to say. I just wanted to add in that combo was sick. Thank you guys for listening to whatever this was. The blabbering character propaganda. I just really like this character, man. I thought he's sick. I thought just the transformation they did for him from Street Fighter 5 to Street Fighter 6 is ridiculous. And how they made a character whose whole design philosophy was that we're gonna make him as simple as possible to then transform him into arguably the hardest character in the game is super sick. And that gives me a lot of faith for whatever Capcom is gonna do in the future. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any opinions on this character, something that I missed, something that you guys want to mention, let me know. I'm here, willing and able to listen to y'all. So, I love y'all. Take care. Goodbye. Peace.